All right. Today's I got to come up with a name for this, man. Road venting, riding while riding, whatever. Something. I'm gonna think of something. Man, they just taking the red light. Gosh, go Florida. All right. Today's topic is, well, what to write, or write what? That's the way I titled it. Write what? So, part of this post Black Panther legacy thing is it's a big change in the black writer community. I was listening to, I can't remember her name, forgive me, yesterday, the writer or the creator of The Chi was on, and I believe that's on HBO. I'm not sure. I don't watch it yet. I do plan on watching it. I watched that over Snowfall. I have no reason why I don't want to watch Snowfall, but I'm like, drug dealer stories, you got to give me something more than that. Because I lived it and I didn't like it when I lived it. So, all right. So now, the question comes up, based on her breakfast show interview. She was talking, the question came up about, what do we need out there in terms of stories for black people, right? And do you write a story that is, say, a story with a black character in it, or a story with all black people, black subject matter, like Black Panther? Or do you write a story that has a black person in it, maybe not even iRobot, because Will Smith kind of made a case for himself to be in that, just like he did with Wild Wild West. Those were characters that were white, and he jumped in and made a case for him to be in those roles, like Independence Day, iRobot, Wild Wild West. And he's done that without even upsetting too many people's feathers, because I guess he did such a good job. I don't know how he fits past the bubble. But since then, cultural appropriation, all this other stuff has jumped in, and it's become an issue. Now, let me get sidetracked. But back to, what do we write? Write what? Holy moly. So, she was saying, if you're a writer, just write what's in your heart. And I think, we haven't trusted that will pay our bills. I've just read the interviews and started doing my Christopher Priest history. And Christopher Priest, he's the one that wrote Black Panther. And with his his run of Black Panther, 1998, Black Panther is what gave us all of the universe that is Wakanda and everything that came from it, the ceremonies and stuff like that. Or just, I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to read it, but he gets credit for that. And he was the black guy that worked full-time at Marvel, first black writer to do that, and he was the go-to black guy. And so as I get, not necessarily a token, but more of a pioneer, the pressure was on him different than, say, Jackie Robinson and other people who broke the color barriers, because this was a different type of color barrier. They had already had black characters. They had Luke Cage, they had Black Panther, Falcon, all these other characters, Storm, but they didn't have writers to create these people. So he was like, by 2011, he was like, I'm fed up. You keep giving me these characters that are black. You're not pushing them. You're not getting behind. You're not giving an advertisement. Nobody cares. You're not including them in the big story arcs. I don't know, I'm just going by his energy. But by 2011, he was like, I don't want to write no more black characters. And the element, the sentiment comes from, I don't want to be in the black corner of the promotion or the office writing some insignificant stuff, and I'm I'm one of the best writers here at Marvel, you know, and I'm not getting credit for that because I'm not writing the A-list characters. So it feels like that, you know, and for me, I'm in the post-Black Panther era. I'm in the post-Chris Priest run of Black Panther. Hudlin Brothers wrote it. I mean, I actually don't have a problem with the world that black characters would leave me in, you know what I'm saying? Basically because I want to be rich. I want to survive. I'm not struggling. I have other things I've done in life. And I've taken the black L, if there's a certain thing called a black L, you know. And I'm also from New York, and I realized that, you know, the black L ain't a real L. You know what I'm saying? If you do it right and it's independent. Now, maybe working at Marvel, yeah, it might be an L because, you know, they own the characters and you can, and they still contain how big is promoted and other things like that. But for Puffy, for Russell Simmons, you know, Russell Simmons put out Public Enemy. He had LL Cool J. You know, these are the groups that he threw on his back, you know what I'm saying? And say, yo, they are black, they're crazy black, and I'm going to, you know, make money off of them. Now, music is different. You know, Jimi Hendrix and a whole lot of other black singers, you know, have been entertaining white people since, you know, the Isley Brothers and those pioneers broke down the color barriers and showed that black acts can get white support. So it wasn't a big L, not to mention, you know, the black audience also supported them. So, you know, in the writing world, even different than the film world, we don't really have a black stampeding audience to support us. Now, Black Sci-Fi, we're starting. We have you know, conventions. We have black comic book conventions. You know, now I think maybe they've doubled. Hell, I've even coordinated a black comic book convention, and I'm working on another one, and I want to start my own. So yeah, we've got a lot of black things, and that market is building for a black writer to be able to say, well, you know, the Negro League pays $30,000, even though the NBA pays $1 million, right? At least you know there's a difference. Whereas before, you know, in the Christopher Priest era, even though you had Milestone and Static Shock was doing his thing, and you had Brother Man Comics, for the most part, those were far and few between. And, you know, so characters like that, I mean, stories like that and writers and creators, you know, for the most part, weren't really able to support themselves. It was like, you know, you write a black character, you're making $2, $3. You know, you barely covering your illustration work. And that's kind of where it is now. However, things are starting to change. You know, same thing with black sci-fi writers, you know, but a lot of this is also because independent writers didn't really make a lot of money in the 90s. You know, the early 2000s is when things started to change. You know, you had digital books, you didn't have to get in stores, you had digital distribution like Amazon and print on demand, and PayPal. A lot of those things really help. Even Square is really helping now, because I can't tell you how many people run out of money but still want to buy your book at a convention, and they say, oh, okay, do you have credit? Do you take credit? And I'm like, yo, Square. I mean, even if I gotta run, not just Square, but I'm just saying, like, the credit card swipers that you use on your phone. I mean, I've been at conventions where the reception was bad, and I've had to run to the door 5-6 aisles away just to get reception for somebody's credit card to go through. And, you know, they trust me, and I trust them with my table, and I'll come back and it's swiped. So that's real. That's real support. And when you talk about somebody who's dedicating their life to writing and wants to write, because there's very few jobs that you can do that support you, and you can still have the creative RAM or a space in your brain to write, because you can't, it's really hard to come home from certain jobs. Like me, I was a teacher. That joint was, for a new teacher, oh my God. Maybe if you're teaching PE, and I'm not just with PE teachers, but you don't have to grade papers, right? So maybe if you're teaching PE, you can be a writer. Maybe if you're teaching, some of these other ones, like when I taught debate, that wasn't so consuming, but I think there wasn't enough classes in my school for me to teach like 6 classes of debate. So I had to do history and debate, and that's when it becomes challenging. So for you to have a job and still be able to write is a lot. And if we are looking for people to write a comic book a month and stay ahead of it, they're not going to be able to have a day job. And so if you're writing, because whether you're writing Captain America or Falcon or Luke Cage, the same amount of detail goes into the writing for whatever book you're writing. Same thing whether it is illustrating. You don't just illustrate a cheesy Luke Cage. It's the same time it requires to illustrate Luke Cage and as it does Iron Man or Superman or Batman or one of the top selling comic books. So, the rates are more. If you drawing or lettering Batman, you probably get more than you would drawing Luke Cage or Falcon or writing. So, it does impact you. So I'm just laying out like all of the variables because I've made my decision, and I made this a personal decision, to write black sci-fi or black character and black stories. I like to say like Luke Cage because one, I come from the hip hop generation, and I think there's a universal appeal to not drug dealer stories. Come on, let's not talk stupid like that. Street stories. No, let's not talk stupid like that. But real behavior, real reactions. And not saying that other ones are fake, but they're just less popular. When you have not necessarily an interracial story, but you have what people probably might perceive as like a mainstream story. It's not as core as like something that black people are dealing with in their community. The rappers that white kids started supporting, these were the Too Shorts. These are people that didn't even rhyme anything about white people at all. Then they gravitated to the Public Enemies that were bringing the pain. So there's something that is true in speaking our piece of our issues, our struggles with our baby mamas, our struggles with middle class, whatever, the suburbs, that is a true feeling that hip hop and some of these other stories have. And that is what I write. Now, if you want to write, white character stories because you think that'll get you your deal, God bless you. A lot of people have done that. I'm not going to name names, but there have been stories like that. Shoot, even the Matrix lady, her story got taken and made into influence the Terminator and Matrix and all of those, and none of those. Her story was like black people are daggone gods. Neo was supposed to be like the second coming of Jesus. So she wrote a black story, and it was so universal, like kind of the blackest black story. It was so universal that not only did white people like it, but they took it and made it white. So I don't know. I don't know what to write to tell you. I know what I'm going to write. But one thing I do keep in mind, and I'm going to close with this because I'm going on a little too long, is keeping it commercial. I keep it light, fluffy, and now, like I said, I write for me at 17. I'm not writing for me at 50. I keep my stories full of action because I think that's universal. I keep my stories low level, not quite Sharknado, but my movies go Sharknado. But my stories may have a fun snakes on the plane type scene, but it doesn't consume the story, and it doesn't take over the story, right? So I don't know, but I think we're in an era where we do find that question becoming more and more important. Last thing, shout out to my book, my first book to get a publishing deal, my second sci-fi horror book that I wrote. It happened on Negro Mountain. Check it. It's why I'm wearing this shirt. So thank you. Sorry I went so long, but I hope you got